YouTube, what's going on? It is your boy, Ao. We are back with another video. Today, as everything indicates, we're talking about All-Stars. I will be giving my predictions for who I think is going to make it out. We're currently in the Sweet 16, basically. I'm not really sure why they call it the quarterfinals, but, you know, whatever. It's the quarterfinals. It's the round of 16, but yeah, we'll go with that. So I'm going to go through every single guild in here, show their power, and then who I think is going to make it out of each group. So we're going to start with Group 1. We have 388 NNW. We have State 1's BXM. We have State 311's TPI and State 583 FW4. So 388 NNW might seem like a brand new alliance. And it sort of is, but it's basically the culmination of, so here we have 120. It's pretty much a merge between ZZ7 of, notoriety from 606 and 100 from 491. So, I mean, here we have their top five, some huge players. Like I said, they just kind of merged. So these two players are new into 491. And they were at the top, or not necessarily at the top, but they were pretty much the strongest in the 600s. So they merged. Should definitely be someone to consider. Like I said, 119 million for them. Next up, we have BXM. So BXM just moved to State 1, basically. We have 107 million. Here's kind of the top dogs. Some pretty, hefty people. Basically, every alliance in here is going to have some top dogs. So like I said, 170 million for VXM. Next up, we have TPI from State 311. They've been in State 311 for a minute. 78 million, basically, power. So definitely a big jump down from the previous two, 120, basically, and 107. They're 78. So if they make it out, that would be very, very impressive. Now, here are some of their players. They definitely have some big players, obviously, but just in terms of the overall strength, it would be pretty impressive to see them make it out. To see them beat NNW and BXM would be really, really good. So yeah, here we see. I think these guys are basically everybody who didn't migrate to State 1 from BXM. So it'd be kind of sad to see them fight each other, and obviously they are going to be fighting each other. Maybe. There's a possibility that they don't. We'll see. Next up, we have FW4 from State 583. This is 90 million, so again, more than TPI, 12 million more than TPI, but a pretty significant difference between kind of the top two in that grouping. Here we have their top players. As we can see, nobody kind of at that elite level. But, they made it to the Sweet 16. They've got to be strong. So congrats to them for even making it. And if they, prove all the haters wrong, basically, or they have a crazy upstate, they're going to be kind of the Cinderella story. So that's who we have for Group 1. Now, who do I think is going to win? Well, we have BXM versus FW4. I think BXM should be taking that. Again, this is 107 million versus 90 million. Power doesn't always mean everything, but just based on the players and kind of the notoriety, BXM should be winning that round. Then we have NNW and TPI. NNW just became one of the one of the favorites to win the entire thing with their merge. So NNW should be taking this one. They have, I think, over 40 million power difference against TPI, so that should kind of be a no-brainer. And then it will depend, I guess, on who fights who next, but most likely these two will be making it out. So BXM and NNW will be making out. If these two end up fighting each other, BXM versus NNW, that'll be a really, really good matchup. I still think NNW will beat them. And then based on the points, potentially one of these two can get an upset. So we'll have to keep an eye on Group 1, but most likely NNW and BXM are going to be taking it. So next up, we come to Group 2. We have 120s YGL, 545s TKH, 338s XX8, and 321s KOS. So again, I'll do the same thing. I'll show you guys all of those. So here we have YGL. YGL is the biggest alliance in the game currently, sitting at 157 million power. They are what most people would consider the favorite to win the entire event. Here we can see some of their players. They actually just got some new, this player in particular, Katie here. So they're very, very, very strong. If they don't make it out, I don't know, something happened. So next up we have TKH from State 545. Now TKH is one of those where they have 83 million power, so like half as much as YGL. But they have some pretty strong players, so potentially, they might be able to make some noise. Again, power isn't everything, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they can accomplish there. Everybody, well, not everybody, but most people are aware of Merm and kind of the notoriety of that player. So he can make magic happen, basically. Next up, we have 338s XX8. This is a very, very long-standing guild. Meg has basically been the president and R5 of this guild. Maybe not R5, but president of this state for about 1 million years. Again, one of those very, very notorious players, always at the top of the game. They just recently had a merge with S4S. So potentially they can make a splash here. They're now sitting at 100 million. So the merge, might have some effect. Again, they're 57 million power down from YGL though. So we'll see. And then finally, in this rounding out Group 2, we have KOS from State 321. They're sitting at 143 million power. So actually the second strongest, or not necessarily strongest, but the second highest power in the game currently. Sitting at 143, led by Rusty Viking, one of the most OG players in the game. But they're kind of, championed by a significant amount of very, very strong players. Degen being, again, one of those notorious players who's kind of always killing everything and everyone. So we'll see here. The reason why you can see this full list is because I am actually on this base that I am taking this video from. I am in this State 321 here. So that's the alliances in Group 2. Now, who do I think is going to win? Well, this one becomes a little bit trickier because we have YGL is 157 mil. 5 TKH is 83 mil. So basically half, but they have some really, really strong top level players. XX8 is 100 million and KOS is 143. So realistically, based on strength, YGL and KOS should be taking it, but it might come down again to matchups. So first matchup, we have KOS versus XX8. KOS should have the victory, 143 versus 100, and YGL versus TKH, 157 versus 83. YGL should be taking the victory. Then again, based on matchups, we might see one of these, to kind of squeak it out. If it ends up being KOS versus YGL, one of them has to lose. Who will it be? Well, again, I do think YGL is the strongest alliance in the game, so I think I'd have to give the advantage to YGL, but it should be a close match. And then from TKH and XX8, I kind of have to give it to Merm. He always seems to win a lot of stuff, so I think TKH would squeak out against XX8s. In terms of KOS versus TKH, I think KOS would win, and in terms of XX8 versus YGL, I think YGL would win. So, based on prediction and not necessarily knowing how the matchups are going to go, I would assume YGL and KOS would make it out of this group. Next up, we have Group 3. We have 109's RVM. We have State 13's TW6. We have 239's AVC. And we have 600's 1MV. So again, I will show you guys all of those alliances, and we can take a look at them. So first up, we have RVM from state 109. They're basically 121 million power. Here are their top players. Some old school players, or some well-known players like Duck and Octopus. But these folks have definitely taken a step back in terms of spending. So a lot of people are counting them out in terms of all stars. But hey, they made it to the top 16, so clearly they have some fight in them. Next up, we have TW6 from state 13. So TW6 moved last season, I believe. They're at 138 million, so very, very high. I think they're the third strongest, maybe, or the fourth strongest in the grouping in terms of just power. Here are their players. Again, some real notorious players. Gazer, Super Mike, Mars, just kind of always dominant in every season of the game. They've all been playing for quite a long time. So there we go. There we have TW6. Next up, we have AVC. These guys, unfortunately, might not really have a chance. They're sitting at 78 million. Again, power, not everything. We just saw TKH with 83, and they do have a chance. But here we have the strongest players. Again, as always, some strong players. If you make it up here, you're gonna have some strong players. But just compared to the first two that we looked at, it should be a little bit difficult for them. And then we have one MV from 600, so a 600 state kind of sneaking in here. One of these 110. So we have here's the kind of top players here. It is I guess Chinese state, whatever that means at this point in the game. But yeah, they definitely have some stronger players than AVC, or at least more power players, I guess. So that's going to do it for round 3, or for group 3 rather. Now again, RVM is 120, TW6 is 138, AVC is 78, and 1MV is 110 million. So this will be pretty close between the top 3 here. AVC, unfortunately, I think this is kind of where their story ends here for All Stars. Let's check up the matchups. We have TW6 versus ABC. That should pretty clearly go to TW6, bar any, I don't know, craziness. If ABC beats TW6, that would be insane. And then we have 109s versus 600, or RVM versus 600. This should be a pretty close matchup. It's 120 versus 110. I do think 1MV might be able to sneak out a win here against RVM, but this should be a fairly good matchup. Again, I do think 1MV is going to win up. My prediction. Then we'll do the other matchups. So TW6 versus RVM. I think TW6 takes the lead here. AVC versus 1MV. I think, I don't think AVC has beaten anybody, basically. So 1MV is going to beat them. TW6 versus 1MV. Now that's a tough matchup. I do think TW6 sneaks out the win. I just think kind of their, top 5 players are really, really, really strong. I know firsthand. I just don't know 1MV. So I could just be ignorant on this, but I do think TW6 would sneak out the win, and then RVM would be beating AVC. Now we have our final group in the Vanguard division. Group 4, we have State 353's PVO, State 468's PJW, State 518's NKC, and State 96's ZKE. Same thing, we'll take a look at all of these alliances. So first we're checking out PVO. Now PVO is basically 120 mil, so at that kind of, top level, top 5 or whatever, top 6, top whatever it is, at that 120 mil level. So definitely the top half of the remaining alliances. Here are their players, some big players, obviously, some well-known players. Top 4 UK, another one of those kind of, Merm, Super Mike, Mars, Degen level player. So definitely somebody to watch out for. He might not have 10 billion power or whatever, but always incredibly strong. And then the rest of their team, pretty good. They do have some fluff on them, though, meaning some of the bases here, if we take another look, some of the bases here, like, this base in particular, the power is a little misleading. It's kind of a very, very old base, and it hasn't kept up. So they're sitting at 120, still very, very, very strong. Next up, we have PJW. PJW is going to kind of fall into that position of some of the other ones. They're at 75 million. They've made a really good run, basically, into All-Stars, but I think this is where that ends. They do have, again, strong players. It's just when you're comparing against literally the best players or the strongest players in the game, PJW might just not stack up. I don't really know. Maybe they'll surprise us. Again, they have made it this far. Next up, we have NKC. I actually think NKC is the third? Yeah, I don't know. I think they're the top 3 alliance in the game in terms of raw power at 141. So we have YGL 157, KOS 143, and then NKC 141, I believe. So really, really, really powerful. Here are their top players. Again, some super, super notorious players like Knuckles and PXG, as well as a bunch of others in NKC. They're always very, very strong. They do incredibly well. Every Eden and All Stars and the whole deal there. I was just checking if they had been in All Stars or had the badges to prove it, but whatever. And then the final alliance is State 96's ZKE at 91 million. There we go. Here are their top players. So again, I think definitely a step down. We have Fat Booty Executioners, shrouding the top 5 players in ZKE. But if the third strongest is sitting here, you can kind of imagine the number 4 and 5 from ZKE would be below there. So maybe they'll merge or something. I'm not sure, but for now, that's where ZKE is sitting. So I think you can probably guess who I'm going to say is getting out of Group 4. I think you have to give PVO the edge here, sitting at 120 million and having some of the strongest players in the game. And then NKC being one of the favorites to win it all. I do think they're going to make it pretty far. So sitting at 141 mil, top 3 in the game. I think these are the 2 that are going to be making it out. But we'll check matchups and we'll kind of, go from there. There could be some upsets or who knows. So NKC versus PJW, I don't really think this is close. This is another one of those, they're basically half of the strength of NKC. And I do think this will be a beat down here. NKC will be beating PJW is my prediction. Then we have ZKE versus PVO. I mean, I just have to give it to PVO. I'm not sure if anybody in ZKE is a Supermax base, and there are Supermax bases on PVO. It's very difficult to compete without at least one Supermax base at this level, at this stage of All-Stars. So I think PVO will be taking the victory. NKC versus ZKE. Well, I think I have to give it to NKC. PVO versus PJW, have to give it to PVO. ZKE versus PJW, that's a more close matchup. It's 75 mil versus 91 mil. I'm actually not sure. This could be something where we see they could sneak out a win, one of these two, and maybe get a lot of points from it. I don't know. I think I have to give PJW the edge here, but I honestly just don't really know. ZKE has kind of depleted their members. At one point in time, they were very, very strong. And then NKC versus PVO, this is a very, very good matchup. This should be close. I do have to give it to NKC, though. I think they just have more bases at the top of the game. So I will have to give this to NKC. So that is going to do it, guys. Let me know your predictions. I think so far pretty good. I actually predicted the top 8, and basically everybody that I named to win was in my top 8, I believe. So yeah, I mean they name changed, right? This was 100 from 491, but now it is 388. NNW, No Name Warriors. So they were like something Warriors, I forget. But yeah, so they just name changed. But anyway, if you had 100, on your radar or whatever, this is them now. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Again, let me know your predictions. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully it, helps at least get some things down. I tried to make it pretty concise, especially if you're not from these states. If you're from, the Fearless Division or the Perseverance Division, hopefully it, gives you a little insight. If you are from these other two divisions, there are less players in these other two divisions, just straight up, and you want me to do something like this for your division, let me know in the comments. And if I receive a bunch of them, like a bunch of people want it from the Perseverance Division, I will make sure to get a video out very, very soon. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Hopefully you've enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Good luck if you're in the All-Stars. Peace.